Bev Grabe again. I don't think there's anything wrong with accountability. What I do think is wrong is unfair accountability. And I do not like, and just as Paul is speaking about there, that you spend so much time in preparation for tests. Well, you have to be accountable. You're accountable for what you're teaching the kids, but the big key here is the standards need to be consistent throughout the United States. There should not be different standards in California as there are in New York. And then the tests, whatever tests are determined, and if they are determined by educators, I'm sorry, because they know what they need to be, how those tests need to be written, and then test on that, and we will see how we all came out. It has not been that way. California has extremely difficult standards, and that may be a surprise to you, but they have difficult standards. And we also have another issue. We have kids that do not speak English very well. And so we are comparing states that have different, populations. We need to look at each individual child and see what that individual child is learning, and then give them what they need to bring them up to the standard that we have as a whole country decided they need to be. Every child is different. Every child needs to learn a different way. And so if we have a test that we are going to give, the teacher has to do an assessment, and they can do an authentic assessment, which means a project-based learning, and the teacher can tell from that what the child needs to work on. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say.
This is Randy Putz, and this whole idea of testing and accountability and measurement has been one of the great debates, and it's been one that we've had some heated discussions over in various school board meetings. And I understand both sides of it. I understand from the teacher perspective that if you're a good teacher and you have your act together and you're able to connect with children, you're able to help them arrive at an understanding and a knowledge level that isn't necessarily accurately measured with testing. And testing isn't necessarily an accurate measurement of what a child knows. At the same time, we're talking about public money, we're talking about your money, and how do you know what our children are learning? How do you know that the money that you're investing in our children is being put to good use? And testing is at least one way to get some idea of how that works. I don't know in our lifetime whether we'll ever figure that out. I know the debate will continue to rage on, but it is important we continue to look at that. And I think as we get into this idea of 21st century skills, how we test and what we test for will continue to evolve.
Thank you. Sorry. This is Roberta Hardy. And I'm not an educator by profession. I have, as a parent, I have trusted our schools to decide what should be implemented in our schools. I agree that the standards need to be consistent throughout the United States. I also agree that each child needs to be treated in the way that they learn, because they are all different. They all have different talents. They all have different learning abilities. They're all very, very special, and it's so important. Teachers in my life have made a difference in my life. You know, in first grade, I was at the bottom of the reading, and I had a lisp. And one teacher took the time to show me. I went to the top of the class and won every spelling bee from then on. So I love teachers, you know, and I believe we need to take care of them. But as far as this issue, I believe that if elected and on the school board, that we need to look at proven methods and take a look overall at the budget and see if it is, and weigh out what the benefits are, whether this should be implemented or not. Thank you.
Once again, there are 3 candidates you'll be voting on for 4-year terms. Each candidate now, starting with Joseph, will have 2 minutes to make their final comments. Joseph, please.
Thank you. I thank you all for coming. This is, we're exercising our rights and participating in our form of government. It's very important. I've lived in countries that are not as free as we are. I lived in China for 2 years. That's a communist country. And the people there, they don't have freedom. They cannot criticize their government at any level. In Thailand, it's a military regime. They have a king, and it's controlled militarily. In the Philippines, where I've also lived and conducted medical missions, they have corrupt government. It's a democracy, but it's corrupt at every level. And what I see coming back to the United States is a slow deterioration, erosion of our government, local control, and our rights will slip away from us if we do not participate. So I thank you all for coming here. I applaud the current members and the candidates that are here. We're putting ourselves forward, answering your questions, telling you our ideas. You can pick and choose between us. I am a different candidate here. I'm just putting myself forward so you can decide. I have different ideas. I have a bit of ingenuity. I am ready to work, roll up my sleeves if I had sleeves, and do the work, do the homework, and represent you. And I ask you for your support. Please vote for Joseph Kelly. Thank you. Bev?
Thank you. This is Bev Grabe. I want to continue a little bit on where I left off when I was doing my introduction. We were talking about how we have been working towards saving money in the budget, and we've talked about quite a few here. One of the things that we didn't talk about was the partnerships that we have with this community. This community has been amazing, helping us every chance that they get. I mean, we were funding the music program, the strings program, and we had to stop funding that, and the community, Lighthouse Project, all of these particular organizations stepped up, and all of you in the Valley have attended their fundraisers so that that program could continue. And that is, I mean, we had to take that money out of the budget because we needed it for keeping teachers and classified staff, but that program still continues because of all of you. And I really appreciate this Valley so much because of that. Other partnerships that we have is the Ed Trust trains volunteers for the classroom. And that is such an amazing program, and when you go to the elementary schools, you'll see some of those people there. And they can be anybody, grandmas, moms, dads, sisters, brothers, anybody. They are wonderful. They've been trained in how to volunteer, how to work in the classroom by teachers, and we really appreciate that. And that does save us because it saves our teachers some stress because they have somebody there to work with them in the large class size. The Ed Trust also is working on with us on a partnership in sustainable environment resources curriculum. And so we're in the developmental stages of that, and that's project-based learning for our kids. And so they are doing this to help us, and as they progress in helping us with this, if this continues, and I hope it does, because, you know, it just depends on how things go, they will help with funding for us in the district. Thank you.
This is Randy Putz, and I'm not an educator. I have had 2 children go through the district. The most recent one graduated just a few months ago. But ever since I arrived in the Valley, I've been advocating for our children, volunteering in classrooms. I was one of the founding members of the Bear Valley Education Trust. The last 4 years, I've lobbied at the county level. I've gone up to Sacramento to lobby on behalf of our children. And I've made a significant investment in our district and in our children over the last 4 years. We have great schools here by many different measures, whether it's the number of distinguished schools that we have, whether it's the U.S. News and World Report giving our high school a silver medal, whether it's my own personal experience or Paul's experience in the classroom with our own children. We have great schools, and it is a significant asset to our community. I hope that I can continue to leverage my investment and continue to help our schools out through these very trying times, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
This is Roberta Hardy. Our children are our future, and we've all heard that, but I truly believe that. I believe that when I'm elected, I will represent the students and their future education. I will work together with the school board to bring a fresh voice to the drawing board. My focus is to make sure that every student has the opportunity to receive the best possible education and for them to be prepared for whatever their life venture is. I'm not an educator, like I mentioned, and I'm not a politician. I'm a concerned parent and grandparent who has children in this district, and I want to help make our schools a better place. I want Big Bear to be #1 in the United States, if possible, and I see no reason for that not to happen. Budget cuts are there. We're very challenged. I know that everybody's doing everything they possibly can. We live in a small community, and I feel it's up to us, all of us, to make sure that our schools are held accountable. And do not believe the answer is to keep raising taxes. I keep seeing cutbacks. I keep seeing less teachers. We need our teachers. There has to be a way to keep our teachers, or our children won't learn. I see oversized classrooms. Volunteers and everything like that is a great idea, and more parents need to participate. We all have to work together. But it can't be business as usual. It's time for a change. It's time to get creative. It is time to take a stand, and please take a stand with me. I'm asking you to vote for a positive change that can bring results if we all work together, and I'm asking you to vote for Roberta Hardy. Thank you.
This is Paul Zamoyda. I'll go back to a comment that Joe said when he began. He said that our state is either first or second in the amount of taxes paid. I think we're 8th, but regardless, in one of the sources I read, regardless, I think the idea is that we pay a lot in taxes per state. Yet, as of 2 years ago, before the major cuts came, we were 47th amongst the 50 states, the amount of tax dollars we put towards educating a child. So we're one of the highest paying tax states in the union, yet we probably spend less than, I would guess at this point in time, probably less than everyone else educating a child. There's a disconnect there. You would think that if you were first or second or 8th in tax revenue, that you'd be first or second or 8th in funding education if education was a priority to its citizens. So those are the challenges we face, and we're faced with what can we do about it at the local level. I hope when it comes time to vote in a couple months here, a couple weeks here, it's not too far off, that you'll look for candidates who will make education at least more of a priority to match the tax revenue that we pay to the state. Even though we have these horrific budget times and the crisis, for some strange reason, I remain optimistic. I was extremely optimistic when I saw that the majority of people in Big Bear did vote for Measure M. Unfortunately, a majority didn't rule in that case, but it gave me optimism in probably the worst time in the history of California to try to go for a tax. We still had a majority of people here in Big Bear, so that tells me that people still do care and that kids are important to them in our community. I'm also optimistic that there's a lot of innovation that can take place without money. We talked a little bit about project-based learning, authentic assessment, innovative schools, and I look forward to those adventures in the future. I think they'll make school more fun for kids, more attractive to kids, more engaging for kids, and somehow I remain hopeful that we can make our schools a better place, although the funds don't seem to be there at this point in time. So, it's Paul Zamoyda. I appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.